Hey everybody, I wanted to give you a summary of a lot of the stuff I've been talking about the past 2 weeks because I haven't really put it together in one video, and it's such a big deal what's going on right now that I wanted to clarify anything that might need to be clarified. And so November 30th was the first day of this COP28 meeting in Dubai. It's the United Nations, and it says science points to climate collapse as UN chief calls COP28 to action. And so what happened 7 years ago was the Paris Agreement. And now what they're doing is they are they're literally confirming this covenant that they've been operating in for the past 7 years, but they're confirming it in the sense that they are now calling it to action. They're now putting everything they've talked about, they're putting it into action, into motion. You're going to start seeing mandates, this kind of thing. And I've connected it to, as well as many others, to this Daniel 9:27 covenant. So I want to show you that 9:27. Here it starts, verse 24, talking about the 70 weeks of Daniel that I've mentioned a lot. So verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that word upon desolate. So we have to realize a couple things that matches this COP28. He's confirming the covenant. Okay, so they're actually confirming a covenant that they've already put into writing over the past 7 years. It's starting with the Paris Agreement in 2015. So it qualifies to confirm, and then with many for 1 week, that's the 7 years, and that's that last 7 years that has not been fulfilled yet from Daniel's 70 weeks. That's up here in verse 24. I can't really go into the whole thing right here, but this is where you can read about that whole 70 weeks. Now, what is the covenant about? It doesn't call it a peace covenant like a lot of people. It's not a peace deal like a lot of people say. But what it says is, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So what this is referring to is actually a temple, the third temple that they're going to build. They have the heifers, they have everything they need. They can build this thing in a few weeks. They can build it very quickly. And they're in the process of getting ready to start. So in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation. So in the middle of 7 years, in other words, in 3.5 years, the Antichrist, this is the Antichrist confirming this covenant. This COP28, I'm going to show you what's really interesting that really ties in the connection to the temple, okay? Because we do need to see that. And this is where I think it comes in here. The COP28, it's faith-based engagement, okay? And here it is here, November 30th to the 12th of December, which, like I said, is literally a day or two before you subtract that 7 year of Jacob's trouble from the Day of Atonement on November 7th in 2030, when we believe Jesus is returning on the Day of Atonement. And I'll show you that in a second. I have mentioned that. And if you subtract the 2520 days of Daniel, you end up on December 14th. So, I mean, is that a coincidence? And, Jacob's trouble is literally the same thing as the Daniel's 70th week. It's the same time period. So this is being set up right before it looks like the Jacob's trouble is going to start. Okay? That's why this is so I wanted to put it together right now, because to me this is what it looks like. So what's the connection to the temple? Well, this is a very faith-based engagement. I mean, they call it that. And high-level faith leaders meeting here in Abu Dhabi, and this was they're meeting in Dubai, but this was the faith-based, a different meeting. And let me see, the part I want to read you is building on the historic interfaith environmental appeal launched from the Vatican. Why is the Pope involved? And look what they call him. Signed by His Holiness Pope Francis. This is an interfaith-based, complete blasphemous lie from hell, where the Pope is saying all religions are equal. We're all equally going to heaven because we're all God's children. In other words, you don't need Jesus to go to heaven anymore. Now you just need to believe in God, whatever God you want. It's all good. So, environment appeal launched from the Vatican on October 4th, 2021, signed by 40 faith leaders of diverse religions and backgrounds. A November 2023 meeting among high-level religious leaders will serve as a platform for robust discussions on the moral responsibilities of nations. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here you have it. They think it's so incredibly important to have these high-level faith leaders. Here it is: sustain their collective wisdom and influence, spiritual guidance, to raise awareness about climate change. So this is where you got the Pope, we're gonna, we have the Antichrist will step into the temple after 3.5 years in Israel and declare that he is God. And so it looks to me like the temple in Israel is definitely going to be encouraged by this Antichrist, because he wants to step in the temple and declare himself as God. And so you have this connection right here in this meeting that's about climate change, even though, what does carbon dioxide have to do with the Antichrist stepping in the temple? Carbon dioxide. And yet this is like their main thing that's trying to pull everything together here. Carbon dioxide is destroying the world, basically. So, so the meeting ends on November 12th. And I wanted to show you right here. This is Stellarium. This is November right here. You have In 2030, this is November 7th. And the sun, which is, the light of the world, Jesus Christ, who's also known as, symbolized by Venus and Jupiter, and so we have Venus and Jupiter and the sun, all three are in the scales, which is judgment, which also used to be called the altar. Okay, but think about it. It's at the altar, the Holy of Holies, where God judges the world. And then Mercury, the messenger, all in the scales on November 10th, which happens to be, November 7th, which happens to be in 2030. November 7th is the 10th day of the month. Now, like I told you before, this calendar is a month off, so don't worry about what month it is. This would be Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hodesh, and then the 10th day is the Day of Atonement. So this would actually be the Day of Atonement, lining up to the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus and Mercury right in the scales, right here, the 10th Day of Atonement, 2030. When it looks like Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, is returning that day. I mean, scholars throughout the years have believed that it's the Day of Atonement, that he's returning. And I'm not saying he can't return a different day, but this is what it looks like. And it does line up to the heavens. And it's lining up to this meeting, because this is the day of Atonement. If you subtract 20 days of Daniel, you land on December 14th. So I want to close with this. It's very interesting to me that, although I have not been watching Hanukkah, and I know many of you are, which is perfect. So here's Hanukkah. It's landing right on the same time as this COP28 is meeting. Their last meeting is here on December 12th. And King Charles is going to make a big speech that I don't think we'll hear right away, from what I heard. But it's interesting that the 12th is also on this day, which is the 4th day of Hanukkah, which many are saying that's when Lazarus was raised from the dead. And also Hanukkah comes from the name Enoch, which was the first person raptured in the Bible. So I really believe that when you see what they're planning in COP28, it's nothing short of absolute totalitarianism, control, governed by total evil. And they're putting it into action immediately, starting after December 12th, when they finish the meetings. So this is a very, very, this is just a very, what do you even call it? It sounds like the tribulation to me. It sounds like, and here we have right on the 14th, when Jacob's trouble should actually begin that day. It's literally the next day. The lineup is beyond anything you can put together. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't. And so I'll leave you with that. I think from this moment on, peace and safety is one of their slogans, by the way. The world will be at peace and safe once they have their total control over everyone on the planet. So with that, I say, Maranatha, come Lord Jesus. I consider every minute at this point an extreme high watch. So thanks for watching with me, and I'll talk to you guys soon.